Hey guys, my name is Jimmy. I'm the youth pastor at All Saints Anglican Church in Balgowlah. It's a great privilege to be here online with you doing this workshop this afternoon. And my prayer is that as we reflect upon this, that you'll continue to grow in your Christian faith in the life of Jesus and be a light seeking Him, for Him in the world around you. Today we're looking at the relationship between forgiveness and justice, and how we need to make sure that when we look at forgiveness, we don't forget to have justice included in that as well. I'm sure many of you have heard before the phrase forgive and forget. And the idea being that is simply if someone hurts us or someone does something wrong against us, that we are to simply forgive them and move on as if it never happened, to forget about it like it never happened to us. And that might work when it's something really small, insignificant, or a small accident that a friend of ours does towards us that we can just simply move on from pretty quickly. But when it comes to something more serious, something that has ongoing consequences, what's done to us changes our life in a way that wasn't like it before. It's not as easy to simply forgive and forget. You might be at school and you might have someone talk behind your back and spread rumors about you that aren't true, and that changes and damages your reputation as a person in your school. And you'll know that has ongoing effect, that has ongoing consequences for your life. And so it's not as easy to simply just forgive them and forget that person as if it never happened, because you have to live with the ongoing consequences. Likewise, in a more serious situation, in our world where people commit great atrocities and great crimes, we have a judicial system that says that you must pay a penalty for the crime you commit. It's not enough for simply for the judge to forgive and forget about it, because as a family or individual or group of people have to live with the consequences of what this person or this group did to them. And so it's not enough for them to simply to forgive and forget. And the Bible as well has this idea that justice is just as important as forgiveness. That the Bible doesn't portray a forgive and forget mentality. In fact, forgiveness does come at a cost, as we'll see a little later on. But God cares greatly about justice. God cares that His people are just people and are doing what is right. If they don't do what is right, then He will be just and He will punish them for not doing what is right. He has a heart, and particularly for those people who are vulnerable and poor and sick and lame, and people who exploit them. Wicked people, He calls them, will be called to account. In fact, we see in Psalm 28, in verse 4, we read the psalmist saying, give them according to their work, according to the evil of their deeds. Give them according to the work of their hands. Render them their due award. The Psalms is full of all these different songs and prayers to God, saying, God, can you do what is right? Can you judge the wicked and condemn them and vindicate your righteous people? And that's a fair prayer to pray to God, because God is a God of justice and what is right and what is good. And what we see in the scriptures, we see even creation itself in Romans 8, longing, groaning for Christ to return and to make all things new again, to rid the world of its bind to sin, to do what is right. Judgment in the scriptures and justice is not an evil and bad thing for us as Christians. It's a good thing, a reminder that God does care about our world, that God does care about the evil He sees around us in our world, and He wants to do something about it. He wants to make things right, punishing the wicked and vindicating the righteous. You see, God will do the right thing. He will punish the wicked. And we see even in Israel, when they don't obey God, when they don't submit to His rule and law and live for Him, He punishes them. He is just. He expels them from the land, and they have to live in captivity under the Babylonians and Assyrians for a time. But God's heart, obviously, is to save His people and to be with them. And that's why we see Him time and time again show grace and mercy and forgive them. But we realize the cost of that. What it costs for Him to be able to do that is the fact that it's His own Son in the end who will take the penalty of sin. On the cross, He will die the death that we all deserve. He will take on the punishment that we should have taken ourselves, and He will deal with it in our place. It shows that our sin and our shame is costly for God, that it takes the death of God Himself in Jesus Christ. It takes that for us to be able to enjoy a relationship with God and to enjoy His forgiveness as well. But we should note as well that with that does not simply come the idea that our sin is completely forgotten, or the memory of what happened is completely forgotten. In fact, what we read when Jesus was resurrected and he appeared to the 12, in Luke's Gospel in particular, and John's Gospel as well, we see the disciples are touching Jesus. They see his scars in his hands. They see the hole in his side, which Thomas puts his hand in. And these scars are a reminder of the costly sacrifice that it took for Jesus to save his people. Jesus is in his resurrected body, the body in which is the first fruits, Paul calls, of what is to come for all people. But it's not without the signs of what he did for us, of what it costed to get to this point. In fact, in Revelation, we read about Jesus being not just simply the rider on the white horse who comes with victory and a sword coming out of his mouth, but he's also depicted as the lamb that was slain. And that image of a lamb that was slain, covered in blood, but ruling the world, is a reminder of what it took to get to this point, of what it took, the cost, the sacrifice that it took to get to here, that we can enjoy forgiveness and the grace and the mercy of God. And so we can see in Scripture that our sins, so not maybe specifically, but sin in general is not necessarily forgotten, so to speak. Not like God forgives and forgets. If he did, he would bring into question why he would die on the cross in the first place if he just simply forget it all. And what we see is even after the fact of the cross, the memory of what we've done is still there in the fact that Jesus is the lamb that was slain, that Jesus is the body which bears the marks of his own sacrificial death and what it costs. And what that should remind us of is the fact that we can therefore see our hurt and our pain in new light. That when someone hurts you, it means that we don't have to simply forgive and forget and move on as if it never happened. That we can actually be grieved. We can actually take some time in order to process what's happened to us, in order to make them recognize the pain they've caused us and the cost it has on for us. But what I think enables us actually to forgive that person in due time is not actually forgetting the sin that happened to them, but actually the memory of what happened to us being reinterpreted through now the lens of the cross. You see, the cross helps us to see things differently now. We can see the pain of what happened to us differently because of what Jesus did for us by taking on the guilt and shame that we all have through his death and resurrection. You see, the cross provides a lens for us to see of our own guilt, our own shame, and the fact that Jesus forgave us. He paid the penalty for us so God could forgive us, and therefore we could experience his grace and mercy. We see our own pain and our own hurt that someone else has called us through that lens. It reminds us that just as we have been saved by grace, so has this other person also been saved by grace as well. And the memory of what has been done for us does not need to be a memory that causes division. It does not need to be a means by which we can remain bitter and angry at other people, but it can be a reminder of the incredible grace of God. The reminder that he loves us, that he cares for us, and that forgiveness is very costly, and the memory of which will never be forgotten. But it does not mean that we need to live in guilt anymore or live in shame, but that we can actually move forward in the grace of Christ. And so my reminder and my encouragement for you in this workshop as you reflect is to do a couple of things. It's to remember that forgiveness does not mean we forget the wrongdoing that happened to us. And that actually, when we remember that, we need to remember it through a different kind of lens. We need to look at it, remember it through what Christ has done for us on the cross by his death and resurrection. Remind us that he's forgiven us because of his sacrifice for us. And that helps us, when we see that and remember his grace for us, we can therefore show grace to others as well. And the other thing is when you're in a situation when forgiveness is not available because you can't give it, because that person doesn't want to be forgiven and they're pretty happy with hurting you, or they don't think they have hurt you, then the thing you need to do is we need to direct all our pain and all our anger and all of our struggle to God himself, and to do what the psalmist says here, to cry out to him, asking God to be just. It's not to say that we become vindictive in this way. I think when we do that, we're asking God to do the right thing, and we know He will. We know that He will come back again and make all things new. You see, the cross is not only this mechanism by which we can enjoy the forgiveness of sins and have life with God. The cross itself exposes the world to the great issue that we're in, that sin, in order to be forgiven of sin, the Son of God needs to die. That's how great a problem that we have. It exposes the problem, it exposes the wickedness and the sin of our world. And the promise is that when Christ returns again, those who remain in wickedness, those who want to continue to hurt people and cause great pain, they will be exposed. Jesus will not let their work continue or go unseen. He will punish it. The wicked will be punished. The righteous, those who trust in Jesus, will be vindicated. And we will get to enjoy peace and life with Him. Let me encourage you as we close now to continue to reflect upon a number of things. I've got a Word document that's going to be passed on hopefully to you. I have no idea how, but hopefully on that will be a bunch of questions to continue to reflect upon in your youth groups, in your small groups, whatever it looks like for you, and to work out how this works in the real world, because forgiveness is not as simple as we might seem to think it is. And we do it a disservice when we move it away from justice. But my encouragement to you is to remember, you don't have to forget when you forgive. In fact, when you remember the hurt and pain when you forgive, it allows you to see it through the lens of the cross and the lens of grace, and to be a mechanism which reminds you and the person who needs forgiveness that you're both saved by grace. And when the person you want to forgive doesn't want forgiveness, doesn't think they've been someone who's hurt you, then the great reminder for us is that we can go to God, cast our anxiety on Him, cast our anger upon Him, not to be bitter towards the other person, but to give it all to God and seek Him to be just, and know that as He exposed the problem of sin on the cross, He will expose all those who continue in sin when He returns and make all things new. And the righteous be vindicated. Those who trust in Him will be made right, and we'll get to enjoy life in peace. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope this has been an encouragement to you, and let me encourage you to continue to keep tuning into the conference and to continue to rest with God's Word and continue to grow as disciples of Jesus. Thanks, guys.